This is part 2 of We Ain't the Same. And so the peace greeting is not appropriate for this message either. This time I'm addressing you dating coaches. Shout out to Lion Riddims for making me aware of that. And this includes, but is not limited to, Locario, Steve the Dean Williams, and Miles Cunningham. I want to give a shout out to Jessica X again for bringing my attention to this. I offer no apologies for interfering with the revenue of any men that are involved in this business. It is actually very important really important, very, very important, that we interfere with their business and mess things up for them. There are very few things that are equally as important. And I'm going to start by explaining why. See, the dating game in the West is stupid by definition. It starts with the fact that the man must make the approaches, and that's a natural thing, but the thing is that women have the rights to, and it seems like women have fought for every single right except the rights to work the dirty jobs, even if they do pay enough money, and the right to approach men and take the initiative when it comes to things that both men and women like. And that's why it is that there's such a source of irritation for us. It's because when they realize that men like something, even if she likes it herself, she'll turn around and never take the initiative for that. You see, you look at relationships in general, and none of the steps are easy. She wants marriage, and she wants to bump uglies like men do, but men must initiate all of it. And the most likely initiative that a woman is to take in these relationships is to say no or to end them, especially when it comes to marriage. To top it off, a man is to pay for all of these insults. So literally the game is she sits back and waits for what she wants to come to her only because it's a man, whereas anything else she wants, she must go out and get, and she accepts that. This dating game is not only controlled by women, but it is controlled by the most misandrist of women in the West. You see, women will teach their own sons that women are the most important. Now, if this young son pursues a woman at a point where he does not have a bunch of resources to spend on mom, and this means less resources for mom, she'll then turn and tell him he's too young and he needs to prioritize his future, but he's still supposed to value women. When he wakes up and criticizes women, then she's going to be the first one. And I know because my mother was the first to do this to me, but she caught herself. She'll be the first to say, well, you're criticizing because you're mad because you can't get one. So moms leave themselves a shaming tactic either way. And I'm not just sticking with single moms here. Married moms will do the same thing if the dad doesn't know about it and isn't hip to it, isn't wise to it. And we know in the black community, those are the men that are not allowed to stay around their children. Oh yeah, red pillow wear man definitely not allowed to be around his kids. So they have a shaming tactic either way, unless of course he does for women and makes sacrifices in exchange for nothing. Mothers will encourage their own sons to get out there and date and play and then get mad when the sons can't, but they also will get mad if the son is too successful to the point that he might actually forget his mom's needs too. Other women have less concern for any particular man than these men's own mothers do. So what do you think they're going to teach us and tell us? Almost none have a vested interest in telling their own male relatives the truth. Almost none. The exceptions are definitely going to be called pick-me's. Red Film Diaries is recording truths for her sons to know in the event that she can no longer tell them directly, face to face, mouth to ear. And you know the women can't stand her. These women in general, moms, are not resort at some point to judging men by the inability to succeed with them. While they're the ones who are not even interested in the men like that from jump, meaning they don't want most men they see, and that's not wrong. However, in spite of that, they're arrogating to themselves and teaching the sons and other men, if they can, that the validation of a man's manhood is in her hands. They then proceed to, in a sense, judge salmon for the inability to swim against the current at the same speed as they might have swam with it. You dating coaches are teaching men more than just the BS in women's heads. which you're incomplete at even understanding through no fault of your own, but let alone explaining. You're teaching men to not do exactly what it takes to change the game in a permanent and definitive manner, not even just in the West, but globally. You're not teaching men to stop approaching and to raise our standards. You're not teaching men male chastity. You are teaching men that their worth as men is based on their ability to attract and bed multiple women, the same women who are the least likely to be interested in such. You're telling men that they must all compete to be in the same 13% of all men. You're teaching them to play a game that the women have already decided 87% of men must lose. And you're teaching them all that come to you to compete to be in that 13%. If every man makes it to that 13%, they'll turn around and start to eliminate 87% some other way. They're simply looking for ways to eliminate, and that is because men are too easy, and you're not teaching men to be any different, which is why they're going to keep doing what they're doing and negating what you're telling the men to do, while you collect money for it. You're teaching men that if they don't succeed where it's set up for them to fail, the success of which can only depend on these women just agreeing to let them succeed, that they're not men. You're telling men that if they just be more manly, women will like and respect them, will stop being so difficult to handle. You're really lying after a while because frankly, some of you are agreeing to open marriages, or you're with women who have exactly the traits that men don't prefer, and have failed yourselves because you're with these ladies without bringing similar traits that women don't prefer to the table for her to tolerate in exchange. You're teaching men to subject themselves to the arbitrary fancies and emotions of not even women, but girls who call themselves girls or women, usually girls. In other words, they say that they're girls. And you're teaching these men to subject themselves to these overgrown girls and allowing the girls to determine and assess the manhood of men. They're not qualified to assess adulthood independent of gender, and you're telling them to assess the adulthood. You're telling the men to accept girls assessing men's manhood without being qualified to assess adulthood of any gender, let alone the genderhood of the opposite gender. Ironically, despite the hold that men and women have on each other, there are very few cultures in which men actually assess each other based on something like this in a serious context. Now, in jokes, this could happen in any culture, but in serious context, that's considered a silly standard. The inability to attract women isn't something any men would seek or about which they boast, but it's also not a reason for other men to shun such a man, let alone outright disrespect him. There are no dating coaches here where I live, nor in Ethiopia, nor in most of Latin America, from what fellow travelers have told us, and I ain't heard about none anywhere in the continent, anywhere. I haven't even heard of them in South Africa, and that place is a mess. There's a reason you're only in places right now like the USA, the UK, maybe soon in other Western Anglophone nations like Australia. But don't challenge us men with passports to go back and handle wayward women who insist on being handled like wild masculine beasts. Instead, how about you take this challenge? How about you take your eyeing lasses to the same nations to which we passport users travel or in which we live and coach dating here in these places? How about that instead? Does that sound ridiculous to you when I say it? The note of what you said sounds even more ridiculous to us. Leave ladies with some sense behind to go deal with an overgrown girl that ain't got no sense that we gotta handle. In the same context in which it's the most illegal and the most against the culture to handle them. That's a situation through which you can't alpha your way, isn't it? It's because you understand that that problem has no solution. Stop telling young men of any age to go pursue whatever gets up and runs, unless they're fishing or hunting, because the fish or the prey on land have to protect their lives. They're compelled. It's nothing personal. Stop teaching them to go to ladies who get up and run and pursue them. Teach them that a woman that gets up and runs is uninterested. If she ducks, dodges, or evades, she's uninterested. If she says anything other than hell yeah, she's uninterested. Matter of fact, in the West, if she doesn't come to you, she's uninterested. And that even money that gets up and runs is likewise not for them. Why? Why would I say that about money? Well, see, money is difficult to earn. It can be, but money has no value without human intellect to value it. If all of us said money ain't worth it no more, then the money's useless. If it gets up and runs from everyone, it's useless. It would be like pigeons, wouldn't it? How much use do we have for pigeons? There are a few pigeons being used around the world. That's rare, probably less than 1,000 all over the world. It's the same with ladies. They get up and run, they ain't interested. Women who are uninterested are more useless to us than we are to them outside of a business or blood relationship, aren't they? You're telling men to change themselves to appeal to the very same overgrown girls whose primary goal when it comes to men is to eliminate 87% from reproduction while still accepting resources from us for which they fought for equal access to earn by working as we do instead of waiting on us to hand it to them. You're teaching these men that while they can't determine a woman's womanhood, women who are already prone to not do so, even girls, are necessary to validate a man's manhood. Women are important, gentlemen. But you're teaching men actually to handle women's importance the wrong way and in a much stupider way than women teach young girls to handle male's importance. Stop it. We're not the same. We're better than you, end of. Because of the choice you made. Now to the passport users, BUSYSBM, IBMOR, MGTOW, any other red pill or black men at all, are calling us to openly and secretly start dropping these red pills into the ears of the clients of these dating coaches. If you learn of a client of one, start messing with that dating coach's business as openly or secretly as is needed to be effective. It's time for them to get some real jobs. Thank you for listening. Black heart, black mind, black out. Assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual non-select male power, because these dating roaches don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day.